Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for a very exciting Crystal Cruises webinar. My name is Anna. I'm an Industry Relations Manager here at CLIA, and I'm going to just quickly go through some housekeeping before introducing our presenters. This webinar will run about 50 minutes with time for questions at the end. Please feel free to type your questions into the questions module of the webinar, and we'll get to them at the conclusion of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on CLIA's YouTube channel, which is CLIA Global. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce our presenters, Carmen Roig and Bernie Leypold. Carmen is Senior Vice President, Marketing and Sales at Crystal and has more than 30 years of cruise industry business development and sales experience. She joined the Crystal executive team as Senior Vice President of Marketing and Sales in June of 2015, when the company was a two-ship luxury cruise line. Since then, she has guided her teams through Crystal's unprecedented brand expansion, including the launch of Crystal River Cruises, Crystal Yacht Cruises, Crystal Expedition Cruises, and Crystal Air Cruises. Fueled by an energetic passion for travel and a genuine enthusiasm for teamwork, Carmen's record of accomplishment is, as an effective marketing and sales strategist, has earned her esteem throughout the entire travel industry. And joining Carmen is Vice President of Operations at Crystal, Bernie Leypold. And with that, take it away, Crystal team.
Thank you, Anna. What a fabulous introduction. I so appreciate it. Of course, Anna and the entire CLIA team work so hard with each and every one of our cruise partners, so it's fabulous to be on here. So greetings to our valued CLIA travel partners, and can you believe we're on, what, month 9, 10? I don't even know. I've lost track, but I know it's December 10th and the year is coming to an end. And back in February, I thought when they sent us home to work from home, and I'm based in Miami, everybody. And by the way, Anna, you just reminded me when you said over 30 years, I'm like, oh my God, January 31st of 2021 is my actually 40th anniversary in the cruise industry. Woohoo! I can't believe it. So I might have to like just deduct a couple years or make it a leap year kind of celebration. But if you would have told me in March when we were sent home to work from home, I thought it would be a quick 3-month thing. We'll be back in June. Did any of you have that experience? I'm sure many of you thought, okay, this is temporary. And fast forward, here we are, December 10th, and we're still, many of us throughout the country, obviously, are still working from home. It is a paradigm shift and a new reality. And, you know, I always believe in the silver lining. Many of you who follow me know carpe diem. We want to seize the day and we want to make sure that we look at everything with the brightest prism that we possibly can. And so today's webinar, the way I wanted to end the year, because this is our last CLIA webinar for the year, our 30th anniversary, mind you, I want to redo on that. I asked Bernie Leypold, our VP of Operations, to join us because obviously earlier in the year, actually in the summer, we had introduced our Crystal Clean Plus protocols, right? So all of you have been asking for this, you wanted information about it. So it was really critical for us to make sure that we shared what the protocols are, but also understanding that the world we're living in, it's unknown to all of us, right? I think none of us we do not have the roadmap for this, and none of us are in the driver's seat. So it's been very, very, we use the word pivot, and you don't want to use the word pivot anymore. We're sick of it, just like unprecedented and all those other 2020 words that'll stay behind. But we are very fluid, and the reality is, as you'll see with this presentation when Bernie joins me, some of the changes we've made since we introduced Crystal Clean Plus. So I think it's critical that we keep everything in that particular frame of reference. So, you know, for those of you, and I know that we have a varied audience, some of you have sold the Crystal brand before, some of you might not have sold the Crystal blend before, but so we always like to start really sharing what we call the world of Crystal. So Anna said it in the introduction. I joined the brand 5 years ago, actually on its 25th anniversary celebration, when it was sold from NYK to Genting, which is our current parent company. And when I joined, it was just 2 beautiful ocean ships. I mean, we were an ocean line for all intents and purposes. And today we have, and I love to say, we're one trusted brand with a portfolio of brand experiences that nobody else has. So besides our ocean ships, which is phenomenal, our 5 Crystal River cruise ships, our Crystal Esprit, who has just been award winning since the inception. We're soon to introduce our Endeavor. This year put us kind of in our expedition route. We're a little delayed, but we'll be having the Endeavor next year soon. So we're very excited about that. And of course, for those of you who've been on past webinars, why I say we're really a unique positioning is because, quite frankly, Crystal also has Crystal Air. So Crystal Air Cruises and Crystal Luxury Air are both our aircrafts that are owned by Crystal, and they're available for charter. And I mentioned them because this year more than ever, the Crystal Air team based in Miami as well have been very, very busy chartering the aircrafts, whether it's the Global Express that accommodates just beautiful 12 guests, or if you do the Crystal Sky aircraft, the 777 that we completely redid, absolutely beautiful, and seats up to 88 in what we call, Crystal First Class exclusive class. And I will tell you that both those aircrafts have been chartered now more than ever. I'm sure you've seen it with your very discerning clients, guests, whether they're corporate or leisure, just family vacations. We have found that a lot of our guests love the private air and the charter air, and we have that as part of our, portfolio. I always talk about the amazing, accolades. Why do I put the awards on? Well, it's really to give you the talking points now more than ever as we resume operations and cruising in 2021. It's up to you. This brand, specifically Crystal, is sold by you, our brand ambassadors and our experts, and you have to really convey that value proposition. So I'm very proud of the awards that the ships have received throughout the years, especially our ocean ships going on 27 years with Condé Nast, and it's just been amazing. And these, of course, are all awarded by our incredible guests, and it keeps us humble and it keeps us striving for more. And it's wonderful that Bernie is on because it's our amazing crew on board. We actually call them our onboard family that make sure that we have earned these accolades and they continue to welcome your clients on board. We welcome them home in what I call the embrace of the Crystal brand, whether it's ocean, river, yacht, expedition, or by air. When they come on board, we really believe, and we talk about personal luxury. That is our brand campaign. 30 years. We celebrated our 30th anniversary this year, and we really are sailing into the future together. As the partnership means now more than ever to us, everything, right? So when we say luxury is personal, the other thing luxury is, we believe we're true luxury. The word luxury is overused by many. Many want to define what luxury is. And I will tell you, for Crystal, it's really simple. It's true luxury and it is timeless. You cannot put a date stamp on it. It is in the fiber and the essence and the ethos and the DNA of our brand. And when you entrust your guests to be our clients, right? Your clients to be our guests, and they step aboard, they're welcomed back home, or for their first Crystal cruise, they're welcomed home, period. And they will be in the embrace of this amazing Crystal onboard family that just continues to do what they do. So today's webinar, we want to focus on what's really important, which is what are these protocols, okay? So we've always had Crystal Clean, and I know Bernie will talk about that and how we've evolved Crystal Clean, and we didn't need to reinvent the wheel, we just needed to adjust it and brand it as confidence anchored by care. So what today's webinar is, and I will be joined by Bernie to talk about an overview of Crystal Clean plus 3.0 protocols, but also know that 3.0 will become 3.1, 3.2, 4.0 as we evolve and as we adapt, not just in the cruise industry, but in the world. As a matter of fact, because of the great vaccine information that we've gotten, right, happening now, it's fast. It's fast and it's changing, and the key to our success and your success will be to evolve and stay very much aware and in tune. So without further ado, I'll bring on Bernie. Bernie, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Carmen, and thank you everyone on this call for joining us today.
Fantastic. And Bernie's been with us several years, and he's an operations expert and just part of the fabric of what makes our brand so great. So I'll start with, what is Crystal Clean?
Crystal Clean Plus is Crystal's collection of enhanced health and safety protocols specifically developed in response to COVID-19. Crystal has always maintained meticulous cleanliness standards aboard our ships, and the Plus is representative of the new protocols that simply build on this philosophy. These are measures and procedures that have been added as this current pandemic presents some unique challenges that our industry has not encountered before. Things like face coverings and temperature checks and specific types of disinfection are all part of these protocols, which I am happy to expand upon in the next several minutes. Of course, you all know that the cruise industry far exceeds land-based operations when it comes to safety and health standards, so it makes perfect sense that we will lead the entire travel industry. To this end, you'll find that virtually every facet of our guest cruise experience, from ship to shore, has been considered.
Excellent, Bernie. So before I ask you the next question, I want to definitely focus on the cruise industry far exceeds land-based operations, because for those of us that are on this webinar that might not have known, the cruise industry does self-report, and kind of like when you look on land, it's nursing homes and hospitals that do that, and the cruise industry. So we've had 4 decades of amazing partnership with the CDC, and we're very grateful for that. But in addition, really high standards of safety measures. So I'm glad that you pointed that out. Okay, so can you give me some insight, and our partners obviously attending, about how Crystal Clean Plus came to be, and obviously your team's approach to developing these protocols?
Sure. Crystal's existing protocols were an excellent starting point, and we have worked closely with our parent company and health and safety experts to further develop measures specifically in regard to COVID-19. With our understanding of the virus developing more every day, the most important step was first understanding the most effective measures and protocols recommended by experts at this time. We then evaluated the details that matter most to our guests and looked at best practices across the cruise and travel industry, including CLIA and CDC protocols. We may compete with other cruise lines for customers, but as it pertains to health and safety, there is no competition. We are all in this together. And as always with Crystal, we will maintain the standard of personalized luxury and service that our guests expect aboard our ships.
And that's an excellent point, because I got to tell you, at the end of the day, especially, we're all in it together. We're one family in this industry. And you always look for silver linings. And the one thing I can tell you is that this pandemic has brought the industry even closer together, everybody leading the way, because we all understand it's not about competition, it's about collaboration. So, Bernie, so how do the Crystal Clean Plus protocols differ from really Crystal's previous health and safety protocols?
As I mentioned before, Crystal Clean Plus is an enhanced version of our excellent health and safety protocols already in place, but specifically developed to address the unique challenges of COVID-19. We began with version 2.0 and we published our updated 3.0 version in September. Our Crystal Clean Plus measures include reduced capacity, new pre-boarding and embarkation procedures, enhanced cleaning protocols, social distancing, and facial covering guidelines, COVID-19 testing for guests and crew, isolation staterooms in case of illness with separate air filtration systems, shoreside partner collaborations, and much more. Protocols will continually be evaluated and updated as new information becomes available.
And I think that's key to success, right? To be able to adapt, to be able to, listen to the science, listen to how this progresses. So when we resume operation, obviously we are the most up to date in what the protocol adjustments are. But what are some of the measures travelers and partners should be aware of, for pre-embarkation, because there's a lot of confusion out there?
So guests will need to complete a COVID-19 test before departure for their cruise and provide printed proof of their negative COVID test at check-in. If they do not have this documentation, they will be denied boarding. Another pre-board requirement is that they must check in online and complete a health questionnaire 48 hours prior to leaving home. Guests' travel and contact information will now be mandatory in Crystal's Priority Check-in and Planning Center before cruise documents will be issued.
And that's really key. So our PCP center, our Priority Check-in and Planning Center, will need this information. And many of our travel partners like to do it for their clients. And you're going to have to empower them to enter their information and to make sure that that you're aware. Because if not, again, we won't issue cruise documents. So all of these nuances are really critical. So what about the actual embarkation procedures? What can we expect there?
So embarkation is critical. We will assign staggered arrival times to minimize congestion in the terminal, and these assigned times will be stated on the guest's travel documents. Guests will be tested once again at the terminal and must test negative in order to board the ship. We will be undergoing additional disinfection measures on board, utilizing products that are listed on the EPA List N and meet the criteria for use against COVID-19. It's important to note that embarkation will not begin until all guest staterooms, suites, and public spaces have been thoroughly disinfected.
Now, this is critical. So I'm going to stop here because our embarkation procedures, I got to tell you, and I've worked for many, many corporations in cruise and many size cruise companies, from the contemporary market to the premium market to now in our luxury market. And the one thing that has always impressed me about Crystal is the way our embarkation procedure has always been, because it really has been seamless and it's not like they're standing in long lines. So we've adapted this. I think we're in a great position, which I think is really, really, it gives us an advantage, right? Because that is kind of the expectations our guests have. So I always like to put everybody at ease when I talk to our partners as well as our guests alike, as I talk to all of them and have been throughout this entire process, because I really think it's really important to let them understand uh, what the changes are, how it impacts the experience. But, again, embarkation has always been so seamless and easy that assigning those staggered arrival times, really, to have it on the cruise document, takes out all the question, right? Because people always want to know. Knowledge is power, and I think that's really, really great. But more importantly is the fact that we're going to go that extra step to make sure. And again, adaptation and staying very, very fluid as things change. We will adjust, and I think that's critical. So this is an interesting one because I get a lot of different opinions on face coverings and how that will be implemented, how we will be able to, monitor it on board. I think I'd be kidding you. It's like I call me Captain Obvious, right? We all know we're living in this world, and you hear it on the media, and people have different opinions on face coverings, et cetera. So, what is our policy as it relates to face coverings?
So like all of our Crystal Clean Plus protocols, our face covering policy will continuously be evaluated according to the latest scientific recommendations. Presently, we will require guests to wear masks on board when social distancing is not possible, including show lounges, the casino, fitness center, elevators, ship tenders, shoreside terminals, tour dispatch areas, and transfers. We will provide masks and face coverings to both guests and crew, and we will of course comply with destination requirements on face coverings.
Of course, and that I always tell folks, we are also led by, the beautiful destinations that we travel to and how important that is. As a matter of fact, Bernie and I were talking earlier this week about, face coverings. And my mom, may she rest in peace, was a seamstress. She was amazing. If I would have told her, can you make me a face mask in the shape of a seahorse? I think she would have done it. I think there's an opportunity for us there. But, face coverings, again, are a very personal thing. And these are protocols at this point in time. I always wear it. I even wear it around the house if I'm cooking. Don't ask me why. It's just one of those things, but it's a very personal thing. And for those of you who haven't sold the Crystal brand, or maybe have not been on a Crystal Ocean ship and don't know the actual footprint of our ship, so the hardware, really it would be like a premium cruise ship capacity if you think of the space to guest ratio on board, and yet we have less than 1,000 guests, where on similar ships you would have 2,000, 2,500 plus. So the fact, it is just literally in our DNA to have lots of spaciousness and face coverings, whether you're close to someone, and we'll talk about social distancing next, but from a face covering perspective, and where we have so much space on board in our fitness centers, in the elevators, in the tenders, we normally don't have long lines for any of this in any of the onboard venues. So to me, I think it's made it easier because you've already done the heavy lifting, so has your team, just in the fabric of our brand, that incorporating some of these requirements that will be made of us as we continue to resume operations and we learn more, has been easier for us to adapt. And it's just, I say it's that amazing, you know, Crystal. It's the Crystal corporate way, right? It's the way they're trained on board that just makes it a pleasure, an absolute pleasure. And now more than ever, we're going to need that. So we covered face mask. What about social distancing, right? Because people go on cruises to be very sociable. I hear that all the time. So I want to make sure, that folks know, again, we will advance and we will adapt. So what does it look like in this moment in time?
So Crystal ships are inherently amongst the most spacious ships in the industry. They were designed to offer nearly double the space per guest of similar sized ships. When we begin sailing again, we will do so initially with reduced capacity, which will only expand to this social spaciousness. Presently, we will also ask that guests maintain at least 6 feet of distance from others outside their travel party. This consideration will be woven into many aspects of the Crystal experience, from ship to shore, with reduced group sizes for shore excursions, limited capacity in elevators and theaters, seating in restaurants, and so on.
Right. And that's listen, I think, the beauty is I think the world as we know it, we're in it together. It's not like this is a pandemic that's only impacted cruising. It is our entire world is in it. And social distancing has become critical in all aspects of our world. So by the time we resume operations as an industry, I mean, the reality is our guest, everybody out there in the universe knows what these requirements are. So it'll be easier. The one change that I share with our partners, because I get this all the time, because part of that social distancing requirement that we will have on board will impact, and I know, don't cry for me, Argentina, or don't cry because Crystal starts with CRY, but there is no crying there. Our ambassador host. So we will be seizing that particular aspect of the brand for the moment, right? Because they would dance, and if you know Crystal, our world cruisers love it. All the single ladies and the single gentlemen, because I'll tell you, well, my husband isn't single, but he has actually danced with one of our ambassador hostesses. So I think when we kick off and resume operations, that particular amazing program that everybody has always loved, because it's great, I think we'll be on pause for the time being until we have a better understanding and embrace, what will social distancing look like, post-vaccine, and when we do in fact resume operations. So again, being on board is very social, right? If you've been on any cruise ship, I mean, I always say it's the very best vacation imaginable in the world. It just cruising enjoys such a high customer satisfaction, and it has a lot to do with the social aspect of it. So I think it behooves all of us that we're very sensitized to that and making sure that it feels very much like a cruise and very much like a social space. So a lot to come on that. But the other part of our experience at Crystal that is so, the accolades just keep coming in is really that dining experience, right? The experience in the restaurant. So what will that look like or be like, or how are we approaching it, I think is important for our partners on the webinar.
Sure. We know that our culinary experience is one of the top reasons that our guests choose to sail with Crystal. This is an important element of the Crystal experience and one that highlights the personal service and elegant atmosphere travelers love. So of course, we will continue to only offer the very best in this area, with some adjustments made for COVID-19. Guests will also undergo touchless temperature checks before entering restaurants. The Crystal Cruise attention to detail and the personal preferences of our guests will not change. Open seating dining will continue, offering our guests a variety of choices and flexibility. The most notable difference in our culinary program will be the elimination of self-service dining options. Instead, we will have crew members serve our guests in venues like the marketplace, which was previously self-service. Most importantly, Crystal's culinary offerings will remain as diverse and superb as ever, with evolving menus inspired by the destinations we visit and the same standard of warm service our guests expect.
Right. And that is, and that's really what's key, right? The same standard of warm or luxurious personal service that our guests have become accustomed to, right? It's making sure that this is a seamless experience. Dining is critical to the cruise experience. And, for us, we have so many pillars in this brand, right? And service is probably one of the most critical of those pillars. And when we look at the dining venues on board, listen, I knew from the get-go, service buffets, and I don't want to use the word buffet because quite frankly, it's a lot more than that. For us, it is truly dining options. And just to go the extra step and know that that won't be the case. And we used to do that when you got on board anyway, from an embarkation perspective. I think it's the first 24 to 48 hours. The onboard team, the crew team would always serve us anyway once we have, when we do the turnaround of the ship. So it's not a huge adjustment. If anything, it just takes it to the next level. And I get a lot of people that ask me those questions. And again, it's a pillar of our brand is service and culinary, and that won't change, right? How we truly deliver that and how it is actually perceived and that engagement will remain. It's part of the fabric of the brand. So the other thing that's really, really unique, right, for us, we as Crystal, and I mean, this was one of the best things when I arrived on the brand, is to understand the incredible variety. Most people think of luxury brands, and I mean no offense to our competitors, because they might not have the physical footprint to have the kind of venues and robust entertainment that Crystal provides. It's because the size of our ocean ships, and even on the river with the local entertainment, the way we've sourced activities on board has been, second to none, right? It's award winning. So will this still be the case when we resume operations?
Yes, our entertainment programs will be as comprehensive and enriching as always, with Broadway shows, music around the ship, and our award-winning guest lecturer program. Seating in entertainment venues and theaters will be arranged in order to accommodate social distancing, and ushers will guide guests to their seats as part of this initiative in certain venues. Guests will have their temperature checked before entering theaters as well.
Okay, so because I've cruised Crystal, and by the way, this is the first year, and again, no crying at Crystal. For the past 5 years since I've been here, I have been blessed, and I'm humbled and honored. I think it's why we all do what we do in travel, because it truly is the happiness business, right? If you get the travel bug, it's a passion. But for the past 5 years, every holiday I take the Christmas New Year's voyage of Crystal. And this is the first year that we're not doing that. We're going to be home for the holidays because there is no cruising. And one of the things that we just love, because even though you talked about, seating in the entertainment venues and how we'll arrange this and accommodate and having ushers, even in the past before Crystal Clean 3.0 and what we've had to adapt, our onboard team has been amazing. I know going in with my family how they've ushered us down and sat us, and because we have these amazing venues that have so much space, like the Galaxy Lounge, we have been able to sit separate for quite some time. So I mean, this is a really easy one for us to adapt to, which is great. And of course, when we talk about Broadway shows, I have to focus on this. I'm sorry, Bernie, that I'm going off on the tangent, but if folks haven't sold the Crystal brand, I mean, we have an agreement, you know. Crystal on Broadway and with Kevin McCullum. And it's interesting because we had prepared, for him to show on board. We were going to showcase and have done so in the past. And Broadway's closed. So to me, it's like this is like a domino effect. It's not just the industry, it's everything when it comes to entertainment. So I can't wait to be back on. But the other thing that's really important, and I always mention this on webinars, the number one reason, and they've done these surveys for over 5 decades of consumers, right? Because we want to know consumer sentiment. The number one reason people travel is for the destination. And that remains on every survey we do with our own Crystal Society members. That still remains the number one reason people travel. It's destination. So that's what it's all about. So obviously part of the destination is critical as well because it's, the shore excursions, how we deliver import activities and, all of that. So to me, it's critical in our delivery. We're not a typical, again, we're a luxury brand. The destination is also one of our pillars at the brand, and how we deliver it safely will be really critical. So I guess my question to you is when we do start, sailing again, what will shore excursions and other import activities be like?
So Crystal guests may only go ashore on tours and activities provided by Crystal. This also means that shuttle buses into town will not be provided for the time being. To protect the safety of all guests on board, we will have to deny reboarding to any guest who does not comply with this policy. We will provide individual PPE kits for guests in their staterooms and a PPE kit for guests while on tour. To accommodate social distancing, shore excursion group sizes will be smaller, which will also make the experiences more intimate and personal. We will, of course, comply with all local regulations when in port as well.
Okay, and so this is one of those points, and I'm sure we'll have a question at the end, Bernie, because again, keeping with we must be fluid. I know that there have been other brands in Europe that have already started cruising, and I think we've all seen the media and seen that this was a component, right? That it's the bubble, let's call it the MBA bubble, but it's the bubble that we keep even on a ship. And I know many of the operators in Europe have had great success. I know our own sister company, they've done cruises to nowhere. So we do have Star Cruises and Dream Cruises that are both operating and have done so. And I knock on wood and thereby for the grace of God go I without any issues whatsoever. So I know that it can be done. and it will be done. And I think you all know through CLIA, we have such an amazing partnership, and all of us have a seat at the table. And of course, the three major brands, and we talked earlier about we're not in competition, we're collaborative on this. I think it's really critical. So this is one point that everybody complains about to me, and I'll say, listen, like everything in life, when we resume operations, it's going to look very different to start, and we will adjust and adapt. Safety is the most critical thing. Safety for our crew on board, our guests, safety for the destinations that we travel to, because we need to be obviously destination friendly and we want them to welcome us back. So we've always done an amazing job on the Shorex part. But I mean, this is a requirement that when we resume operations, when we do, it will be part of these protocols with Crystal Clean 3.0. But again, they could be adjusted. So the next question I have is, and we say crew so that everybody understands. We call them onboard family. We've talked about that because there's this thing at Crystal about the training that we have on board, which is just second to none. I mean, it truly is. It is a pleasure. They love to serve our guests, right? They really do. And so much so that, like, I have our society members that follow me and crew that follow me. They become our family. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. And one of the most beautiful things that I have found in this entire, you know, ordeal, shall we call it, but we've overcome. And I always tell the team, Bernie, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a freight train. It's actually light, and we're going to get to the other side, and this too shall pass, and it's okay not to be okay. But the biggest concern that our guests, as well as our partners, have shown is for the crew. Not only the protocols of the crew, but where are they now? How are they doing? And I get that all the time. So what are the protocols that we will obviously put in place for crew that at this point that we've considered?
As it stands right now, as with our guests, the safety and health of our onboard Crystal family is paramount. We have developed a robust set of Crystal Clean Plus protocols to ensure that our crew members remain healthy and at their best to deliver the very best experiences to our guests. All crew will be tested for COVID-19 prior to leaving their home location to join the ship, and they must receive a negative result. They will take another COVID-19 test at the time of embarkation, quarantine for 7 days, and take their test at the end of that seven-day period and receive a negative test result before beginning their duties. They will be tested periodically during their time on board and undergo frequent temperature checks and regular health monitoring. As I mentioned before, crew will wear face shields, masks, and other necessary PPE when interacting with guests. We will be limiting crew transfers between ships to further reduce the risk of exposure.
So that's pretty robust, right? Because crews have contract. Our crew on board have contracts, and the fact that they're going to be tested before, during, constant, and that they have to quarantine for 7 days even before they join the ship, if I understood you correctly. I mean, this is very, aggressive, and it has to be because the crew, this is their livelihood. They come on board and they live on board. The congeniality of our crew is just amazing. I think because I've sneaked into some of the crew parties before just to thank them because they work so hard and they're just amazing. So their health is as important as our guests, their safety. So it's really good to see all of the necessary adjustments that we'll make to protect them like we protect our guests. It's crucial. So even with all the cruise industry's leading health protocols and measures. And we've talked about them a lot. A lot of these, cruise companies, have, the protocols work, they work, and the measures work. But we know that some travelers are still going to feel hesitant, about the potential of illness while traveling. That's just, it's human nature. I get that. How can we assure people that it's safe and by the way, this is a big question, and I will apologize to you in advance because that's heavy lifting, and I'm putting a lot of weight on your shoulders. It's not like you have all the answers, and we can talk a little bit about this. But how have you prepared us, Crystal, to assure people and our travel partners that are on? How can we convey? Again, they're the ones going to be selling this brand, that it's safe to cruise.
First off, transparency about our protocols is key. Secondly, educating travelers about the details of Crystal Clean Plus is very important so that they are aware of what Crystal is doing to protect their health and well-being. In case of illness, we have a medical team that comprises of a doctor and 3 nurses aboard each ocean ship available 24/7. Our medical centers are well equipped with ventilators, virus testing equipment, X-ray machines, extensive first aid tools, and common prescription and over-the-counter medication. And we will now be equipped to perform PCR testing. We have a dedicated public health officer on board our ocean ships who is charged with overseeing disinfection procedures and our outbreak mitigation plan. We also have isolation wards available in the medical center, and we have created a cluster of guest staterooms and an adjacent corridor to be set aside for isolation in the event of illness. Crystal ships are designed with 100% fresh air supply to all staterooms and main public spaces. There is no air recirculation built into this design. The ventilation of isolation staterooms has been arranged so there is no ventilation connection between isolation staterooms with other staterooms and or the corridor. Separate ducting will lead the air directly to an appropriate exhaust duct.
Okay, I'm going to go back because I was too quick. So my sincere apologies, because I want to talk about just really quick, and I'm going off script for you, so I'm sorry. But you mentioned, and I get this, our dedicated public health officer on board. I think our partners don't really know, how complex that is, what a commitment that is on behalf, not just of Crystal, but I'm assuming other cruise lines have their public health officer on board. And so in the process of these protocols, as we've shared what we're doing and what we've done to prepare, right? Separate ducting to the, to the exhaust dust duct in that particular, isolation rooms that we've set aside and have arranged. I mean, all the industry, all cruise lines are going above and beyond doing and taking these measures and adjusting. And I just want to remind everybody, there's expenses to this because you have a certain footprint that now has to be adjusted based on requirements. And boy, have we been nimble, because you really have, as they've changed the rules of engagement, or I like to say they moved the goalposts. We've said no problem. What's it going to take? Because we believe strongly in our industry being as safe as it is, but more importantly, that we have been for decades and decades, that we've always had this great partnership and have agreed and have collaborated. So I think it's wonderful. But I focus on that public health officer because I want everybody to know that's not something, this dedicated public health officer is not something we just added. We've had them. It's critical. It's been required of us. We've done it. And then it's how does it affect? Because at the end of the day, when I read social media, so I'm always, and by the way, I give a great shout out to our PR team because they manage the social media aspects of Crystal, and that's everything now, right? I mean, Lord forbid, anything you read, you believe. So it's hard to manage that. But one of the things that I do is I take a temperature check, right? I always want to pardon the pun, temperature check. You got that, Bernie? See that? That was cute. I didn't even rehearse that. So the reality is we take a check. It's like a litmus test. How are people feeling? What's the consumer sentiment? Because at the end of the day, we're in the happiness business. We're delivering a vacation experience. People work hard. And dare I say, now more than ever, I don't know about you all, I can't wait. I've already traveled, by the way. In June, I went to Key West. The moment it opened up, I couldn't wait to get out and help the local economy. And then I went to Disney for Halloween. I went and did a weekend at Disney World in Orlando again, because guess what? I want to help. I'm in the business. I got to walk the talk. But this is a very important thing. How will these protocols, Crystal Clean Plus 3.0, affect the guest experience? Because they are truly on vacation, right? It's their vacation. Now more than ever, it's really important.
Right. Crystal Clean Plus protocols were created to enhance our guest safety in response to the unique challenges of COVID-19. They are predominantly consistent across the entire Crystal fleet, with some specific nuances to accommodate the different experiences. They provide guests with visibility into what they can expect when they return to sailing with Crystal. We know that the heart of the Crystal experience begins with the people and connections guests make on board, so the warm service and care that makes our guests feel at home will remain the same.
And that's the critical part, right? Because again, and I hear this all the time, Bernie, people want to go on a cruise experience because they love cruising and it's sociable and it's their vacation, it's their holiday, right? So they have, certain expectations of what this will be. And I think it's critical to know that, those connections on board are so critical. It really is. I mean, I have guests that go on board and never leave the ship no matter what. So they're not going to have a problem with the ShoreX component of it because they come on board for that interaction, for that embrace of the brand, which is wonderful. And I just have to say this because I wouldn't be me if I didn't. now more than ever this year, I don't know about you, I feel this way. Now more than ever, I want to have human connection. I can't wait to be a global citizen again. I don't take anything for granted. I wake up every morning. I was telling Anna this before we started the webinar. It's like, well, how you doing, Anna? And I said, for me, the mark of how I'm going to do it, did I wake up? I've got my health. I'm 6 foot above, not 6 foot under. Everybody near me is doing great. Health is wealth. And at the end of the day, sometimes things happen in life for a reason. I would hate to say this was a reason, but if anything, it has brought us a new sense of appreciation of everybody we love. For me, for travel, I used to complain about business travel because I travel every week of the year. Okay, I mean every week of the year I'm on a plane. And my husband can't believe I say this, but I can't wait to get back on a plane and go somewhere for business. I will never complain again. I've had a reality check because I feel like every day is the different. It's a combination of the Twilight Zone and Groundhog Day. I'm not sure which one, but it's like a repeat of the same thing, and it takes a toll on you. So we have this thing at Crystal, and it all ties into this guest experience. And again, the consumer research and the data points. There is pent up desire, my dearest valued travel partners, pent up desire. We don't say demand at Crystal, just like I don't say bucket list. We say life list. And I think I need to trademark that. Just like true luxury is timeless at Crystal, guess what? We have life list, and people want to live. They can't wait. And at the end of the day, this pent up desire will equal profitability, but it'll equal business for you, our partners. So that's why it's really, really important that you know that we adapt the protocols based on what we learn, and we are learning every day. Okay, I'm like a sponge absorbing it. But Bernie, where can not just our travel partner, because I know we always refer everybody to the website, which is really critical, but where can they find as we make changes? Because you've already adjusted some of these protocols since we started. So where can we get this information as it relates to these protocols and changes and best practices that we'll be using?
So we know this is a lot of information. We will provide reminders of these protocols and all the recommendations regarding COVID-19 throughout the ships, including signage in public areas, in the welcome aboard edition of the reflections, and on TVs in guest staterooms and suites. And of course, Crystal Clean Plus protocols are on our website under our Health and Safety Hub.
Very important. So I'm going to focus on that just a second because we'll take some, I'm sure there'll be questions. I'm sure that Anna will have some questions for us from our wonderful partners attending, but that's what's really critical. So if you have not been to the crystalcruises.com site, I highly recommend it. You need to go on there. We also have a partner resource center that I would highly recommend as well, that you sign up for so that you get all of our, alerts, because we have advisory alerts on everything. Every time we've made a change in protocols, we put it there first. When this started, and again, I give a huge shout out to our PR team and the marketing team, but Susan Robinson heads our PR team, and she really owned that advisory alert and worked very closely with your team, Bernie, as I know, which was critical because when I say change, I'm not talking about change like, once a month, once a week. We were changing hourly, and there's no way to keep all of you, our travel partners, in the know with just email. We can't just send you an email and send you another email in 10 minutes. It just doesn't work that way. So that is why it's so critical for us, for you to know where it is that you can find all the changes that we make as we make them. I'll even tell you one of the major changes that we made, and you'll have this update, and I'm giving it to you now. So I always like to give, Anna's probably worried, what's she gonna say? And my team does the same. I always like to give inside information on my webinars, because it really is, it's that fast changing, right? So one of the things that originally in our protocols we were requiring was insurance, that if you were gonna cruise on Crystal, you must have travel insurance. So we have since adjusted that. Make sure you go to the Health and Safety Hub and see what the protocols are, because we're going to highly recommend it. We're not requiring it because we had a lot of pushback. Listen, one of the things I love about our brand is that we adjust. Why do we adjust? Because we're luxury, and because if luxury is personal, we cannot make decisions in a vacuum, right? So that particular change will be up on our website, but I want you to know that we do adjust and we do adapt, and we have to adjust and adapt because this is a fast moving, fast changing reality that we're all living in. And so please, please, please. So let's talk about the website, because another thing that we at the beginning, I mean, I think the teams were I think they were dizzy and exhausted because quite frankly, we were changing. How do we adjust to this? And again, remember, back in February, we're not our world cruise. We had to disembark people in Australia and get all these people back home because as destinations were closing, I don't have to remind you of the nightmare because we all lived it together as one big happy family. And thank God it's in the rearview mirror. I'd rather look at the windshield and look at the future, which is very bright. But it allows us then to make these updates on policies and really create to you a safety net, right? How do we make it easy for you to sell the Crystal brand and cruise brands? And I think every cruise brand has some version of their own confidence program. For us, it's Crystal Confidence 2.0. It's about no money down because it was a limited time. So we have this through January 5th. And it really just enhanced the peace of mind when people were booking. So these are our sales policies. So for ocean, river, yacht, expedition, remember, we're a luxury brand. So we open a long period of time. We really do believe. And people ask me, how are the sales going, right? So we have this book now and deposit later. So it's no money down, reduced deposits, because everybody wanted to know as we've kept changing the goal line of when we resume operations, people are very conscientious. We want to invite our guests to dream big and plan for the future. Now more than ever with this pent up desire, it's really important for them, to have this dream stage, right? So we need to make it easier for them, but more importantly for you, because you are the sellers of this Crystal brand and cruising. Now more than ever, we need you to tell the story, paint the picture, talk about the value proposition. So we made reduced deposits closer in final payments. We relax, cancellation terms, which are really, really important, so that whether you're cruising on ocean, river, yacht, expedition, we made it simple and seamless. And currently, this Crystal Confidence 2.0 no money down feature is available through January 5th. Okay, but stay tuned, because that's one of the beautiful things is we've been able to adapt and adjust as we hear from you, our partners, as well as our society members, which I think is really, really important. And then, so part of this is this reduced deposit is reduced to 15%, where it's normally, you know, 25%. So we brought that down. Admin fees were a big, big deal. So we waived the admin fees because, we had these admin fees and people didn't want to know that there was a risk that they could get their full money back, which I think was important, right? And then we also had, these early full payment savings. So we revised these as well because as we push back full payment closer into voyage, right? Again, to give people the flexibility and allow them to really understand that we're in it together, and we know that we don't have that crystal ball, pardon the pun again, but it was important. So we revised early full payment discount policies. It applies to select voyages. Again, 2.5% saving. This is huge for our guests. They love it. And they're the ones that complained about this. So it was really important from March 2021 through June 2021 at 180 days prior, which I think was very important. And we're still at 270 for July through December. For this, as far as the 2.5% savings, but just know, and again, first date of service for all departures beginning January of 2022, and that's critical. So we also came up with Crystal's new Easy Book, right? Again, reduced deposits, no admin fees. How can I get rid of all of the challenges that our people are facing and make it easy for you to sell our brand, sell all of the brands, and really communicate this to your guests? So this, again, we're looking ahead. I'm not looking in the rearview mirror. I know that, 2020 has been a really difficult year. So I just want you also to know, again, with insider information, and I will be doing webinars in January to talk about that, but we froze the revenue thresholds for commission. So whatever commission you had with us in 2019, that will go forward. We will honor it for 21, so that anything you book in 21, 22, 23, and 24, as you've got this peace of mind for your clients, you have peace of mind for your profitability, because we totally understand, a lot of you, listen, this has been devastating for many. Your livelihoods, a lot of you are working from home, and we haven't been used to that. I'm working from a dining room table, let me just tell you, because we downsized. Thanks, my husband. We downsized from a home to an apartment, thinking the kids will be off, right? One in law school, one in college. They're both home studying virtually. Can I tell you? But you know what? Those are first world problems. We'll adjust, because at the end of the day, I'll work from wherever. Just, I'm blessed to have a job. I'm so lucky to work with such an amazing team. Other programs, really, we've got this with River, because our best available suite offers, when we've done them, have sold out the River experience. So again, it's still under the no money down, and it's been really, really very successful. And we've done some 4-night voyages. Crystal's known for a lot of longer duration cruises. So again, we wanted to make sure that we had, all of the things you need. So I want to make sure we're giving you time. Oh my God, I'm right on time, Anna. You should be so proud of me. So we're literally at 10 minutes away. So I wanted to make sure that we had the time to take the questions and, provide the information, especially because of Bernie. You're sick of hearing me, because you guys hear from me all the time. But the important person is Bernie, who's on our call. So thank you all for all of your amazing attention, for your continued support, partnership, patience, understanding. There's not enough superlatives that I could use. And of course, I know we're going to ask a lot of questions of Bernie, or maybe not, but I just want to thank everybody, because this has been such a tough year, and I recognize all that you've been through. And I can't be any prouder of our industry, but I cannot be more appreciative of all of you. And I really do wish for all of you the healthiest, health is wealth, healthiest holiday season, because 2021, folks, we're going to turn this around. It's going to be an amazing year. I'm putting that out in the universe, Anna. You heard it here first.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I echo all of those sentiments. We have one question so far. The presentation was really thorough, and I will invite everybody to keep those questions coming while we have time. Our first question is from John, who is wondering, once the vaccine is offered to everyone, is Crystal going to allow only vaccinated passengers? And if so, will the protocols become less stringent?
That's an excellent question. And Bernie, that's a tough one, because I think a lot is changing, right? And
So, yeah, I can take that one quite easily, I think, at this point. First, I want to say all those protocols that we are presenting, right? I didn't do this in my office at home by myself. There is a huge team effort behind this. There is marine compliance. There is CLIA. There is the CDC. There is our parent company in Kuala Lumpur, and they are testing some of the protocols already. As Carmen said, they are sailing with guests, and very successfully so. And we are collaborating with them on what works, what doesn't work for our guests, right? But the question about the vaccine and what will change is the million-dollar question for all of us, right? And we have now CLIA organized, actually, for us to have a direct line to the CDC, where once a week, my counterpart on the marine side and I attend a CLIA organized call with the CDC, where we get to ask questions to them directly. And really what it boils down to is the CDC appointment obviously is a political post. And so Director Redfield is actually on his way out, and President-elect Biden has already nominated a new director of the CDC. So we don't know when that director comes in, which direction they're going. Will they be more stringent? Will they be more relaxed? How are they looking at the vaccine? I remember Dr. Fauci saying that even with a vaccine, he still recommends social distancing, face coverings, etc. Right? So we don't know at this point is the simple answer.
And that's spot on, right? That's spot on. I really appreciate the question, John, because it's funny. And Bernie, thank you for raising that because, it takes a village and we do have a village and we are on CLIA calls all the time. And I'll appreciate it. Myself and Susan are on communication calls, strategic communications committees. We're on the trade relations committee. We're on so many CLIA committees because all of us as an industry, we're going to get this right, right? We have to get this right. But again, I talk about the political aspect of it also is critical. As we know, this has been an interesting year for so many of us, and there's a lot of changes. The one thing you will know is we'll have to adapt and see, what January 20th brings. But the industry, and I know for a fact it's led by I call it the big three, right? The majors, which is Carnival, Royal, and NCL, of which two I've worked for. So I know that they're working collaboratively and ensuring that we are ready to go, whatever it is that's required of us. It is a give and take, it is a dialogue, and we're very much, all talking together and making sure that this gets done and we get it done right. We understand the importance of it. So excellent question. Thank you, John. Anna, any other questions? Boy, we're that thorough. That's impressive.
It was very thorough. We have a few people wondering if you can review the 100% refund standard schedule again.
Absolutely. And then, so I'll go back. I normally don't do this, but that's okay because I want to make sure and I'll hold it there. Is that the one that we want to know? When our cancellation schedules are, reduced deposit, final payment. This is the really good one because it shows everything. And when the penalties start, it shows reduced deposit at 60 days for final payment, which is critical. We've adjusted these. And again, 100% penalties at 7 days or less. And again, as you know, we're not operating right now. I think the rivers are scheduled for March and then April for our ocean and yacht. And then, as you know, our expedition that we're waiting for to be delivered, which we're really excited. It was going to be our 30th, anniversary and our 30th birthday party. We were giving birth to a beautiful expedition ship, which actually a year ago today, I was in Germany at the shipyard, part of a coin, and believe me, back then, 38 years in the industry, I'd never been at a shipyard, nor had I participated in one of those coin ceremonies. And I did do that for Dream Cruises and got to see the Dream Cruises and walked with one of those incredible, cool construction hats through the Endeavor. And I was in awe. I was in awe. I was expecting a small ship, and this thing was gorgeous. So we're very excited, right? But we will continue to adjust and adapt as requirements are made. So as we have Crystal Confidence 2.0, we'll continue to do and hear what you have to say and what our guests have to say to make sure they're still dreaming and they're still booking, which is critical to all of our success.
Okay, great. And actually, it looks like those are all of our questions. So thank you so much, Carmen and Bernie, for all of that information. And thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you all and have a fabulous holidays and happy Hanukkah because today's day one. Thank you all.
Bye, everyone. Happy holidays.